Wellness. And I just want to sign in today and tell you I've got a really beautiful guest joining us today. And today, what I want to tell you we're going to be talking about is how to reinvent yourself in midlife. You all know I've been on this, I've been talking about it. But if you're a middle aged woman and you are super successful and you've done all the things, you've nailed it, checked the boxes, and gotten to this point and went, what's next for me? Right? I want something more for my life than what I see in front of me right now. And what we're going to talk about today is 3 tools that are going to help you reinvent yourself with my beautiful guest, Agnes Van Rhijn. Forgive me. I knew I was going to do that. See, I told you, Agnes. I'm going to bring her on in just a second. I'm just going to briefly talk a little bit about who I am and what I do. So I am a transformational purpose coach and expert, the founder and owner of Laughing Lotus Wellness. And what I do is work with midlife women who have been very successful and are coming into a space of their lives where they feel really kind of at a loss. Maybe they have empty nest. Maybe they're facing that dreaded midlife crisis, which I think is BS. We'll talk about that later. Right? We can reinvent that idea. And so they're in a space of really uncovering and unraveling where they've been, in a space of really ready to step into the next journey of their life, the next phase or stage or chapter, if you will. So what I love to do is take those women, help them get really clear about what their purpose is, get them all kind of tucked in. And then what we do is we help them figure out what kind of lane change they want to make in their lives. Sometimes that is really simple and it's right where they are. And sometimes it's pretty drastic. So that's what I help them do, just getting that clarity to recombine success and purpose. Hey, Deb, welcome in, right? In their own terms. And I want you to hear that loud and clear. We're going to talk a lot about empowerment today. I just know Agnes and I are going to talk a lot about empowerment. That is something that I'm really passionate about doing, is empowering you to decide for yourself what this next part of your life is going to look like. So I am going to be inviting Agnes Van Rhijn in here with me. I got it, Agnes, I got it. And I'm going to just give us a moment because we're going to have a quick transition. I'm going to be bringing her on screen with us. And then, let's see if we can, we're even bigger. We're even bigger. Now she is going to be joining me here on Instagram. So give us a sec. So Agnes, while I'm talking about that, I'll wait and see if I can get you to request to join me. So Agnes helps midlife professional women who feel lost and demotivated uncover, design, and manifest their ideal life and business to support it, so that they always have the freedom of time and choice that will allow them to navigate the next phase of their life with joy, grace, and ease. Who does that sound like? Sounds a bit like what I talk about every time, right? So of course, Agnes and I are friends. So I'm super excited to bring her in here. We are just working with, let me see if I can get you.
Nope. Yeah, I don't see anything on Instagram yet.
Okay, so you have me in live though?
No.
Okay, so if you find my circle, my face should be up there, Laughing Lotus Wellness, and if you click on that, it should let you in. Everybody's like, hey, let's hey. We'll run a little time over. Or Agnes. This is the tech of doing these things is like otherworldly, not a joke. So while Agnes is navigating that, please give us some patience and grace here for a sec. We are going to be identifying 3 tools today that help with reinventing yourself in midlife, which is super fun. So I'm so excited to be bringing that to you. And I've messed up my own Instagram. So if you're all looking at me cockeyed, my sincerest apologies. It is a little bit of effort to get us all together, but we are coming for you, I promise. And feel free, by the way, to drop questions and comments for us while we're here. That's really important. I know that Agnes and I are both very, very passionate about answering questions that you might have. So do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to ask us or drop your thoughts, because I love that.
Okay, so now I think that I finally have you.
There you are. Excellent. Excellent. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. So let me invite. Oh, it's waiting for you to ask me. Let me look here. Hold on. There we are. I just sent you an invite. So you may want to turn your volume down on on your phone. At least,
yes,
there we go.
Yes, it's coming.
There we go.
Coming up.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. Bring it down.
Turn down your there. Beautiful. Okay, I think we've got it. Everyone. So please welcome in Agnes Van Rhijn. I'm so excited to have her. I'm going to let her say a few words about herself, where she's from, because you're automatically going to realize with her beautiful accent, she's not located in the United States. And so she is just a really beautiful soul. We're still getting a little kickback, Agnes. Is there any way we could turn down that just a little bit more? My apologies. We're battling the tech, friends. We're almost there. Oh,
Is that better?
I think so. We might have a little
Okay.
echo, but we're going to try rolling with it. So, yes, tell everyone where you're from. I've introduced you in your short, bio about who you are and what you bring. And of course, you and I have a lot in common. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're from? And I want you to, if you won't mind, sharing your story about how you reinvented yourself when you moved to where you are. Because it's just a beautiful, you are a wonderful role model for what you're talking about today.
Thank you. And just to let you know, you did actually pronounce my name in French, Rhijn. Well, and I am technically French, so it's good. It's good.
It's beautiful. It's right. Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, my background is Dutch. Both my parents were Dutch, but I grew up in France, and I come from France, but I'm living now in London for 7 years already. And to make that part of the story very short, 7 years ago, 8 years ago now, meanwhile, I left a toxic relationship knowing that I would lose absolutely everything. And I make some really life-changing decisions out of that. Instead of stepping into victimhood, I decided it was an amazing opportunity to reconsider all my choices in life and business. And what came out of it is I stopped working as an executive coach, working only with male leaders in the corporate world, change management, etc. And I decided to move to London, except that I had lost everything. So I arrived 7 years ago at 58 with 2 suitcases, no income, no savings, and the firm intention to rise from my ashes, which I did. So that's it.
I love it. When you and I got the chance to sit down and really talk, and one of the things that I remember taking away from our conversation was you were, really so beautifully vulnerable and sharing pieces of your story with me. And so I was just really touched that, one, I instantly, we were sort of magnetically drawn to each other because we have sort of a similar energy to what we're trying to do for women. But hearing your personal story was just really something that always just warms my heart, is listening to women be brave enough to tell their story. Like you talking about I reinvented myself. I had nothing. I started from scratch to create this life that I'm now living. And so I want to just thank you for that, because I think we need more really candid conversation about things just like what you said there. And so thank you so much for sharing your journey. So today we're going to be talking about 3 tools. I just named it. I took some agency and just giving this sort of a name. We could probably, you and I, talk for about 6 hours straight about some of these topics, but I wanted us to kind of pull apart a little bit 3 things that we thought were really important for reinvention. So I'm going to let you bring our audience in and start talking about what your take is on these 3 tools. So if you want to take it away, I'm going to let you start us, and then we're going to just ping off of one another.
Before you do so, if I may just bounce back on what you said about sharing the stories.
Sure.
I have been running a video interview show for 3 years, 3 years ago or something. Yeah. I've interviewed over 100 women. Yeah. And one thing that women tend to have is to believe that whatever has happened to them, they're the only one. And when we start sharing our stories, that's where we realize that we are not the only one, which is why I so freely and extensively share my story. Yes. Because I wanted to inspire other women. Absolutely. As in, if I did it, you can do it too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the take that when I started doing Rise for Purpose podcast, same idea was people have looked at me often and said things like, "You're the happiest person I know, and you just make it look easy." And I'm like, this was work. And yes, I had some challenges, but if I can do it, you can do it. That's the whole idea of Rise for Purpose. It's like every one of us has it within us to, like you said, rise from the ashes. And I think sometimes we just need that reminder. And where we can get those reminders are places like story. Like you said, candidly and openly sharing your story about where you've been and how you did this journey, and then how we can help other women do that same thing. And so, but I always have gratitude, because not everyone feels comfortable doing that. So I am grateful when I bump into women who are so freely able to lean into their story and share it. So thank you so much for just being that kind of woman. I think that's so beautiful.
You're very welcome.
So let's start with this reinvention, woman. Let's talk about this, because this is a part of your forte. I would love to hear you speak to. Let's talk about one of the first tools. What would you tell someone is one of the first tools or important pieces to reinvention?
Well, the very first thing I always talk about, and it's not only for reinvention,
Right.
actually, it is self-awareness. You cannot change something that you are not aware of. It is that simple. But is self-awareness that simple? No,
Exactly.
definitely not. It is
Exactly.
a journey. It's a journey, and I even believe it's a never-ending journey. I always say, it's personal development. The moment you put your finger in it, it's never
Exactly.
ending. It
Exactly.
will end when you give your last breath. I mean,
Exactly.
it's an ongoing story,
Mhm.
and that is the very first step. You cannot change something that you're not aware of, and that leads me to saying something that I often say, but that everyone knows it, but at the same time, no one knows it.
Right.
Is the whole notion of we are all where we are in life as the consequence of our choices.
Mhm.
However, more often than not, these choices have not been ours. And so you need that self awareness so that
Mhm.
from that place you can start making conscious choices.
Right.
And I'm going to give you an example that is I'm turning 66 in January. It's fairly recent in my life.
Love it.
Is that when I did a reconversion to executive coaching, I had 25 years of corporate experience, and I did a reconversion to executive coaching.
Mhm.
And the only reason why I chose executive coaching, put it back in context, it was in they're 15 years behind, etc.,
Right.
is that everyone told me that with 25 years of corporate experience, you need to become an executive coach. So I followed. Everyone said that's what I should do.
Right. Exactly.
But the
Right.
but the result of that is that I've been doing that for 8 years, and I love the coaching, but I could really sense constantly
Yeah.
that something was still missing. It wasn't
Yes.
that.
Yes.
It wasn't that.
And Agnes, I hate to interrupt you. How did you know that something was missing? I think one of the things I want women to hear about is I had a niggling sense at 40 that something was wrong in my business as well. And what I would love for you to do is identify what was happening for you that you started to be like, something's amiss here. Like, I need to do something different.
Hmm.
I know I'm doing what I've been told, and I know I was walking the right steps. How did you notice what was showing up for you that you were like, yep, something's got to go, something's got to change? How did that show up for you?
Well, how do you describe that nagging feeling? There must be more. that's that's
As
what
best
it
you
is.
can.
How do you how do you describe that? It's when you are, how will I say, you're lacking, you're not really feeling happy.
Yes.
You I would suppose that if I'm starting, yeah, trying to put myself back then, when you get easily irritated for everything,
Yes.
or when you feel constantly tired, and it's that type of things. It's that
Yes.
I think that it translates into things that are physical, mental, and emotional. It's a whole
Absolutely.
series of things.
Well said.
And what I have been playing with, because the main reason why this didn't work for me was, I was working with men.
Okay.
Executive coaching, we all
Yeah.
know how many women there are there at that level.
Unfortunately.
Um,
Yeah.
so men, and on top of it, quite often they had not been asked. They didn't ask for the coaching. They were assigned coaching. And then the other thing is that I was being asked to work only on the professional. Well, sorry, I don't see how I can cut you in two
Right.
and forget the impact of who you are as a person and your
Yeah.
beliefs, etc.
Yeah.
So that I wasn't allowed. And my work is transformational. And then I would be given, 8 sessions or 10 sessions, maybe. Well, I cannot guarantee in advance how much time you will need for a true transformation at
Right.
all levels, not only at the professional
Exactly.
level. So
Exactly.
that's where my frustrations were coming from.
Yeah.
And I'm an entrepreneur at heart.
Yes.
So I left the corporate world through the door,
Right.
but I came back in through the window as an executive coach for
Right.
corporations.
Right.
And I still didn't like that environment. I
Right.
don't like how they treat people, et
Right.
cetera, et cetera. And so regularly I would think, no, now I'm going to work with women only, and I want to help them set up their business and stuff like
Right.
that.
Right.
And the universe has been playing games with me because you know how it works.
Right.
I decided to work with a woman, so the universe sent me a corporation
Yeah.
just to check, are you serious? Is that really what you want? And of
Yeah.
course, because I was afraid of not making money,
Oh.
where is the,
Oh.
oh, sorry.
That's
These things are
okay.
great when they don't fall out.
So you know what, Agnes, will you do me a solid? Will you make sure your volume's all the way down? I have someone saying there's an echo of voice still. I have my cell phone volume all the way down, and it also might be your AirPods. I'm not sure. So I just, because I want people to hear what you're saying, that she said there's an echo and it's hard to hear. So
Okay, now, is that any better?
it's a little better, but I can still hear. I can handle it because so I don't know where everyone's coming in from. So hopefully you can hear it. Okay. Oh, right. Yes, your AirPods. They're like jumping out of your ears. Darn it. We're just trying to figure out technical things. So thank you so much for letting us know. We're going to give Agnes a second. So I want to come back while Agnes is doing that. Debbie said self-awareness is an ongoing learning process for me, and I appreciate you discussing this. I'm so glad that you're here, Deb. And Deb said too, I think internal joy. So what's happening, my friends, is if you're on Instagram, the sound is coming through really well on StreamYard for people that are listening to YouTube and Facebook. So my sincerest apologies. You may end up having to go back. We'll see what we can do for Agnes and I for sound on Instagram, but my apologies. So you can flip over if you want to go find Laughing Lotus Wellness, either on Facebook. I'm right in there, or I'm on YouTube as Laughing Lotus Wellness. So if you would prefer to join us in one of those venues, please go and pop in there. Because Deb said they can hear us here. So thanks, Deb, for the sound check. I appreciate it. But you were saying internal joy, and I just want to pop back to that, Deb, that I think that's so true, that when we're in a space of feeling misaligned, which was what Agnes was talking about, that it might show up as a physical thing, it might show up as an emotional thing, but very often what it is we're sort of lacking internal joy. So I know for me, when I started kind of going downhill, what I noticed was every single day was a chore to get out of bed. I stopped feeling like I had as much creativity and joy in my everyday work, even though I really love my clients. So the weird thing was, I really liked the therapy. I really liked the clients. I still was having this weird, really disconnected experience of like, where's my joy? And normally I'm so joy filled. That was a super weird thing for me. And I was like, aha, okay. So I'm just going to say that this is seriously an issue for me. So I think it is powerful. So thank you for sharing that too, Agnes, not to totally circle back, but thank you for sharing that journey, because when we talk about that niggling piece that tells us what like, hey, something's amiss, we want to know what we're looking for. So I want you all to be empowered, like, okay, what am I looking for? How do I know there might be a problem? These are some of the ways to know that. And Agnes, any follow-up thoughts on that piece of things? I don't want to leave you in the dust. We had that tech thing. I want to make sure we're bringing you back full circle, so I don't leave anything out that you wanted to leave as wisdom here. Right. Uh-oh. Okay. Okay. Audio's, it says audio's now gone. Agnes. Uh-oh. You're muted, Agnes. That is a phenomenal question, my friend. I don't think I can do anything for you on that. Oh, there we are. There we are. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to turn my Instagram back down. We were having, there was a weird feedback piece going. Sorry, everyone. I know. Bear with us. So anyway, we're back. So you were saying, go ahead. Oh, that's so true. Yes. Uh-oh. Okay, Agnes. Deb says, I'm not good at lip reading. Tell you what, friends, you know what we're going to do? Here's what we're going to do. If you are, I hate to do this to you all. If you're on Instagram, I want to direct you over to YouTube, because YouTube's going to be easier and faster to find me. Please head over to find Laughing Lotus Wellness. Agnes, we're just going to kick out of Instagram so that everyone can hear us. No, Deb, thank you for telling me, because I want everyone to hear what Agnes is saying. I'll have to figure out another way to share that to Instagram. So Agnes, go ahead and click out of Instagram. Everyone, sorry, come back and find us on Laughing Lotus Wellness on YouTube or Facebook and join us right there. We will be with you. Okay, so sorry, my friend, that was a mess, and I did not want to continue having a conversation that no one could hear. Okay, let's check. Let's check and see. Sound check, Agnes. I want to hear Agnes. I know you do. So go ahead and chat with me for a second, Agnes. Let's see how that sound is going. Nope, I can't hear a single word you're saying. No, I can't hear a word. And I have it on full volume. I was going to say we might need to, I don't know if your AirPods need to be turned up, off, maybe up now if we're not on. Oh, tech. Oh, tech. Okay, nope. So I would say, Agnes, even though it's not as great, you may want to disconnect your AirPods. I'm not sure. Oh, it's like it wants to work. I'm telling you, I'm serious, my friends. So is there any way, I was going to say, is there any way you can disconnect your AirPods, my friend, from the computer? Because I think that it wants to, it's probably battling out. Yeah, now it says you're muted again. When you take out your AirPods, it tells us you're muted. But that might, oh, okay, try it. Oh, nope. Okay. All right. Nope. You guys, I'm so sorry. Hang with us. Well, I don't know how that happened, my friend. We were rolling. We were rolling. I thought if we did it and we ditched the Instagram, we would get rid of that kickback, which is true. And now there's not, but now I can't hear you at all. So I would say make sure that you are, if you can, make sure you're out of Instagram. I just signed out. Oh, there. I hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Don't do anything. It's working. Don't sweat it. It's working.
I don't move anymore.
Okay, we're good. Okay, we're good. Excellent. Okay, so we're back. So you were talking a minute ago about self-awareness being pivotal, and then we were coming into where you said, because self-awareness was one of the keys to conscious choices, right? So maybe we can circle back to that piece if you want to speak a little bit more on that part.
Conscious choices. So I was starting with this example that I thought that I had made the conscious choice of becoming an executive coach. In reality, I hadn't.
Right.
It's taken me 8 years actually to really become conscious of it, because as I said, the universe was playing with me. Every time I decided to work with women, it was sending me a corporate client, and every time I decided to go for corporate women, as in, do you really know what you want? Kind of.
Exactly.
And so it kept coming and going, and I kept having that feeling that so coming back to having that clarity.
Yes.
There were so many factors I hadn't realized. I was very proud. I had chosen a reconversion from corporate to executive coaching. That was my choice. No, it wasn't my choice. So ultimately, I have been pushed, like so many of us are being pushed. How many, I'm always taking a very sad example of the husband of my youngest sister. He passed away when he was 37. This guy was a CEO of a whatever bottling company, because that's what his parents had asked him to do, to take over the business. Do you know what he would have loved to do? He told me once,
What?
to be a farmer.
Oh,
He's never been a farmer. So we're all, how many people do you know who are doing what parents told them,
right.
or who think they have no choice, so they
Sure.
are going in a route that in
Sure.
reality they don't like?
Right.
We've all experienced that, and we constantly experience that. I
Yeah.
don't remember the name, but it was probably a few decades ago, a movie that in essence is about, you have this railway station, a train is about to depart, and you see a couple who currently clearly are splitting, and the child is going, let's say it's the mother who goes on the train, I don't remember.
Sure.
And then the whole movie unfolds as what would have become different in the life of the child if instead of going with the one, it would have been, and you know, every time you have this
Yeah.
opportunity.
Yes.
I remember someone that I know who decided to go on holiday. I think it was in Italy or whatever. It doesn't remember. She's from New Zealand, if I remember well. She met her husband there.
Right.
Where would she be in life today if she had not gone on holiday to Italy? So
Yeah.
everything we do is
Yeah.
a matter of our choices. But
Absolutely.
we tend to roll in our choices,
Yes.
not really deciding for ourselves, which to a certain extent can be pretty normal, because when we're young, we don't really know what we want yet, or quite often that's not the case. There are exceptions, of course.
Right.
And so we just do what society thinks we should be doing, or what our parents think, or a teacher tells us that we're not good at this or that, so we don't go that route, etc., etc.
Right.
And then at some point there is a kick back, so the boomerang comes back, and you have that so-called midlife crisis that we love, and suddenly everything seems wrong, and that's not what we want.
Yeah, I think that's so powerful, and I think the other thing that is really powerful to me is when I hear people speak to this, I will often hear someone say, you know, all this wasted time. And I have to remind them, because, right, so let's just say your brother-in-law had become a farmer and he looks back and says, all this CEO and corporate shit, this was such a waste of time. But it wasn't. Every single thing that I think we're doing, like you said, on our journey is in some way, shape, or form preparation for us to step into the next version of who we are, or we're going to need a tool, a lesson, a teacher, a something of that journey that is really pivotal in what we're going to do in this next chapter. And so I feel like the other thing I would love to encourage people to think about is when you're in those places of making more conscious choices and you go, oh, I was just doing things by rote. Even if you were doing things because it was what you were told to do, or because you thought it was what you needed to do, you also needed to be in that place at that time to develop who you are standing in these shoes today, right? I think that's so important. And so not having this mindset of wasted time and energy, because that's so sad to me. Like, no, our time is never wasted. We're always gleaning something.
Yeah. There are two things that I would bounce back on the same topic here. One is to give you that example. If I hadn't gone the route of executive coaching and business coaching, by the way,
Right.
I would not be able to help today my clients with life coaching by helping them create the business that will support it. So, absolutely. The other thing you reminded me of by giving that example is one of my very first clients back in France, a woman, by the way. So one of the times when I was working with a woman, she was 40-ish, and she was saying, oh, I'm so upset. I've wasted so much time. Exactly that. And I said, how old are you? And she gave me her age. And I said, my God, can you see how amazing it is that you have still whatever 40-ish number of years in front of you to do something about it?
Exactly.
It's not as if you're 80 or 90 and you wake up and with a wasted life. No, it's
Right.
wow, be grateful that you're waking up now.
That's exactly right. And that's what I think, that's the way I think about midlife in a way. And I don't know if you'd agree with this, is it's as if, rather than looking at it as a midlife crisis, which I literally, and I'm sure you agree, I hate
Yeah.
that that's our narrative in our culture around midlife. But rather, can we view it as a reawakening? You get to reconfigure in midlife. You get to now, with some wisdom, not throw darts at a dartboard and hope for the best, right? So, I mean, I feel like when we're in youthful space, we're like, okay, I have this idea. I've got this inkling. I've got this idea. I'm really smart at this, or I'm good at that, or whatever. And I have this kind of drive to be in this place. That's great. And you're not really functioning from wisdom, right? Not yet. Some of it, a little bit, and an innate wisdom and intuition, absolutely. But is it wisdom? Not as much, right? And midlife, there's experience backing us. So when we decide we want to do something now, it's actually coming from a really wizened space. And I feel like those decisions are so much more deeply rooted in us, rather than sort of guessing, right? I love that midlife is like, the guesswork has gone out a lot of my areas of life. I don't guess on my friendships anymore. I don't guess on my purpose anymore. So to me, what's beautiful is feeling more firmly rooted from that experience and wisdom. And so to me, it's like exactly what we're talking about today, reinvention, right? You get to reinvent. Can you reawaken? Can you reinvent or reorganize your soul? Can you step into a different space? It doesn't just have to be midlife is this, like kind of a mess of things that are happening at us and to us, but rather taking all of that wisdom and experience and putting that together to create really conscious choices, bigger self-awareness, right? Those bigger bulbs are going on for us. I feel like that's so powerful. What do you think about that?
Well, it's coming back also to, well, a lot of it is semantics also. And you made me think of something else, which in a way is midlife related, like menopause. Do you know
Sure.
how they call menopause in Japan? They call it the second spring. Isn't that beautiful? Doesn't that
Beautiful.
sound very different?
It's such a different idea than midlife.
It's funny how we can connect dots like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so it's I think that it's also because we are on a journey of growth, and at the beginning of our life, it's all about me, myself, and I.
Yeah.
And then, of course, at some point, there is a family, or at least quite often there is a family, as in kids, etc. I'm not talking about we all have a family.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah, but then as women, we're carers. We tend to give everything to others. There's no room for us. We don't think we deserve it. We don't think there's time for it, etc., etc.
Right.
And I think that as we move in life, we start realizing, whether we are choosing it or whether we start guessing it, that you can't pour from an empty glass.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
you can only, the famous put the oxygen mask on yourself first.
Exactly.
All of that.
Precisely.
But
Yes.
then there's also something like and that leads to the purpose. There is something bigger than me there. How can I make a difference at whatever level? It doesn't have to be at the universe level.
No.
It can be at the level of your family or your community or whatever. So we are progress. So I think it's this meaning, this search for meaning in life. And once we are connected to that, once we have that clarity, my God, life becomes so incredibly different. It's incredibly empowering also.
It is.
Because when you have a meaning, you have a direction, where you're heading to, life is completely different. And it empowers you to make choices despite the fear.
Agree. I think it's interesting. You were talking about that, and I had this vision. It was really funny. When I was in high school, I was having issues seeing in class. I didn't really even know I was having issues. Like, my algebra teacher calls my parents. She's like, Jennifer's squinting in the back of the room. I think we might have a problem, right? So I want you to take this message of what you, as you were saying, like, it's almost like the first time I got contacts in my eyes. and I looked around and it was like 5-dimensional living, right? And I had no idea I wasn't seeing everything around me in its fullest clarity. And knowing your meaning, knowing why you're here is like putting on those glasses for the first time and actually seeing with perfect clarity
Yeah.
why you're here, what you're doing, what fires you up, what's going to help inspire and keep motivating you to do what you're meant to do in the world. And so that is like, I just, everybody envision like, right, putting your clarity glasses on. And that meaning is so pivotal for us to, like you said, to me, it anchors us in life in a beautiful way. Like, I got it. Like it clicked in like a puzzle piece, like that makes sense to me. I want to know why I'm here. And if I'm flailing at that, but I can lock into something and I go, I got it. That's a really different sense of what you're doing here and drive and direction. It's like having a compass. So I liked that. As you were talking, I'm like, I just saw someone put glasses on their face for the first time and having beautiful clarity, right? Beautiful vision. So
the only thing I would add, if I may, because
please,
I don't want the viewers to get the impression that it means that once you have that clarity and the purpose and etc., it means that everything is easy all of a sudden and it's rolling. No, we are normal human beings. It's not because we have that clarity that it means that it is easy.
Absolutely.
Life is not easy.
That's just it. And I think that's the other piece of midlife though, and life in general. Thanks for your glasses, Denise. I love you. Right. So the idea is that you're right. But what it is if we have that compass pointing forward or the glasses are on, when the hard minutes come, I feel like our wisdom and experience allow us a different way to respond to that in our lives. So it isn't that the bad things won't happen. I'm going through it. I'm fully living in my purpose. My dad is in a hospice, and it's just an example, and I'm not going to go into that, but I'm just saying I am living in the middle of this. I just had my daughter go to college. So tell me it isn't hard some days. Right? I would never tell someone it isn't that it's without challenge. Like I float through daisies all day, every day. No, I do not. What I do try to make sure I'm doing is be aware, conscious decision making about how I'm going to be in that. I can't choose that the things are happening. I can choose what I do with it.
Absolutely.
Right? And I think that's what you and I are getting at is absolutely no one's going to sell you today a stinky pile of poo. That just knowing your clarity and having your glasses on means that everything's going to be traipsing through the daisies.
And it's also trusting. It's also trusting that it will happen. Let me give an analogy that I very often give. If you don't have a vision, it's like leaving home for a very long journey in your car and forgetting to put an address in the GPS. If you have an address in the GPS, you do not need to worry if all of a sudden there are roadblocks, because you trust that your GPS will bring you back. And the other thing that you don't need to know either is how do you get there?
Right.
Because it's like, to give a second analogy, and it's still a car, now you're driving at night, but you have an address in your GPS. The road is unfolding with your lights. You don't see the road, just that little piece in front of you. So all you need to work on is the next step.
Exactly.
But you trust that your GPS will bring you where you need to be.
Exactly. Well said. We're getting lots of nice comments. Hi, Natalie. Natalie's here. Debbie said that's a great analogy on yes. Denise said great. So definitely we're making sense to people, which is so good. I always like giving analogies because in therapy, that's what I did
I love them.
over 20 years. You have to like make things kind of digestible. So we've talked about the importance of self-awareness. We've talked about the importance of conscious decision-making, which consciousness is just, I'm making it from my own accord and not just because I think I should. I'm really thinking about what's good for me, where I want to go. I want clarity around my purpose. So it's sort of setting us up for this beautiful change that we might want to create in our lives. And on yes, what's the third one? And then we can circle back to any of these, but what's the third piece that you like talking about for reinvention? Because I love this.
The other pillar for me is intention and focus. Because once you have chosen whatever you want to do or wherever you want to go, we are in life.
Woo!
And then we are overwhelmed. Then we are having FOMO, whatever, shiny object syndrome, etc., etc.
Yes.
And it's so easy to get distracted then.
Yes.
But when you know where you want to go, you then can choose again to
Right.
stay intentional and focused. And
Right.
I always say, when you have, it sounds very simple, it's less simple than that, of course, but when you have a choice to make, so let's say that you I'm a very curious person. I love learning. Oh, there is this new course, I would love to do this course, it's so amazing, blah blah blah. And then I always say, there's only one question, and there are only 3 ways to answer it. Is this going to bring me closer to achieving my dream, my vision, my goal, whatever? Yeah. And there's only 3 answers possible. Yes, go for it. No, don't do it. Bin it.
Right.
Not now, park it. But out of sight, so that you don't get distracted by it.
Oh, one more time. And yes, go back. So yes, go for it. No, and then
bin it.
And then what was it? I loved it. What was that? Park it.
The last one is park it.
Okay. Okay, write that down. This is always what I say when someone drops a really beautiful nugget. Write that down. So that's so beautiful, because what you're getting at is, again, this is paying attention to alignment, right? It's like you said, and I am like you. I am an eternal learner. So this is how I started on, certification, yoga and meditation. Then I was crystal healing. Then it was Reiki. I'm like this, like now. All of that felt very in alignment for the energy work that I wanted to learn to do and bring to my practice. But I'm just saying, I am that person, that I am so full of the desire to learn. I'll see some program. It could be something not even in my wheelhouse. I'm like, I maybe need to learn how to create a house structure. No, I don't. No, I don't. That sounds fun. If I want to volunteer for, Habitat for Humanity, go build a building once. But do I need a course on it? No. And so I think, and I'm just being facetious here, but what I think your point is that when we're going through life, it can be really easy to have all of these shiny objects show up in front of us, and we get excited, and that's beautiful. Right? That is beautiful. And I'm a fan of learning and growth and novelty, because I think that keeps us vibrant as human beings. And also it can be sort of a detour, right? Is it lining us up with where we really want to go? And the importance of knowing what you stand for is that you can ask yourself that question. Is it a yes, no, or park it? I think that is what we're really like, okay, like hem in. So if I wanted to think about one big thing, takeaway, like, okay, I literally just want to think about what is going to be helping me in my journey to achieve this thing that I know is in my heart that I meant to do, the legacy that I meant to leave.
And you know what? If I can circle back to self-awareness, the learning aspect can be hiding a fear. I'm not ready. It has to be perfect, etc., etc. And that happens all the time.
For sure.
So then when we are looking at that shiny training, whatever, we can also ask ourselves, do I actually need it? But not just from the goal perspective, but from the angle, is this in fact because I'm afraid of not going out there?
Yes.
That's another aspect that is really important.
And I think I've experienced that on Yes. It was funny. I went and I met with one of my healers that I like working with, and I go see her every year. She's one of my treats for around my birthday. And it's always just like a fun way to kind of begin to reorg for this next year. So great. I sit down with her. She's like, you can stop getting certifications anytime. Like, she was in the nicest way. It was like the first person that was like, got me by the shoulders and lovingly leaned in and was like, stop learning. You already have shit to share. Like, it was like this, like I needed someone to go, you can stop anytime. Now go teach. You already have all the wisdom up in here. You do not need another letter behind your name, another certification. Jennifer, go out and send your message. And I was like, oh. Okay. But it was actually really powerful to hear from another person on the outside looking in, which is where coaching is so powerful, right? Is that we need to hear sometimes, like, you don't need to go learn or receive another thing to be valid and worthy to share your message. Exactly. We can release that idea and just step into your greatness, that you're already worthy and great just as you are. You already have a message in your heart. Take that and run. And it doesn't mean don't ever add things in. I am a huge education fan. I have spent
Yeah.
hundreds of thousands of dollars to prove it. Trust me. So I get it and I love it. And also, there is a line in the sand where it's like, can I just have innate trust in myself and in this
Yeah,
journey?
that's it.
Yeah, it's like I already know what I need to know to do this work really well. And can I just
Let me,
that?
sorry.
No, go.
No, you just remind me of something else. Back in the days when I was an executive coach, I was also in change management,
Okay.
and I was doing facilitation
Okay.
of group facilitation, etc. And I remember that I went to Madison, Wisconsin, so from France, Madison, Wisconsin, to follow an integral facilitation training
Okay.
course
Yeah.
because I thought I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
A week-long course, 90% of it I was already doing. 90% I was already doing.
Yes.
So I won't say that I didn't learn anything. That's not true. Of course I
right.
did learn.
Right.
But I was doing it.
But that's just it. I think again, it's
I needed the reassurance.
and sometimes we do, and I don't want to ever say to someone or diss someone. It feels like they want to go out and like glean more wisdom. Like I get that, but also I do think that this is that sweet space of look at that lesson that you had, that you traveled halfway around the world. I mean, I'm being exaggerating there, but you get what I'm saying. You went really, really far away to learn that you knew 90% of it already. So what I would say is this is also a gift of midlife is you know some stuff.
Yeah.
You have done so many things in your life that you might underestimate the value of the wisdom that you took from that. And my God, there is so much that you know. And what I would say to someone too is if you're worried about knowing more and gleaning more, and yes, I think what happens is it's like the world isn't receiving your gifts while you're inward feeling like you got to go get some more letters or certifications. The world is waiting for what you can deliver to them. And you're quietly over here doing your jam, and someone out in the world needs to hear your voice, your story, your set of gifts and talents in the world, right? And so I think that's something else that I would want everyone here today to hear is like you already have tons of wisdom and the world needs what you are here to give. And so even if you're leaning in and you're scared, I'm fascinated by the people. I've heard a couple stories, and I'm sure you have too, Anya's, with women who will say things like, yeah, I saw this great job. I had no experience in it at all. And it sounded really interesting. So I applied and then I got it. And then I panicked and I figured it out. That is so brave to me, that idea that it was in a different wheelhouse. It scared them. They weren't sure they knew enough to do. And they get in there and sure as hell, guess what they're able to do? Figure it out and do a really phenomenal job, right? And so that is that piece of you are innately created with all kinds of wisdom and capacity to lean into something new and even learn as you go. And so, right, giving yourself permission.
Yeah, and just for your viewers, we all operate from a place of fear. All of us, absolutely all of us. Absolutely. But one wake-up call that I got one day was someone telling me, and yes, who are you to keep your gifts for yourself when there are so many people out there who need it? By doing that, you make it about you instead of making it about them. Yeah. And that for me was a real wake-up call.
It really is. And I think it's Martha, and I'm going to, of course, I would like lose her name right now, Martha Graham, who has this really beautiful quote to exactly that. And it's one of my very favorite quotes because it's literally like, I feel like when I read it, it's like her pointing a finger at you in the nicest, most loving, spiritual way. Like, who are you to decide where you're going to go? That's not your job. Your job is to just do it. Like you have this mom that's lovingly poking your chest. And I'm like, that is exactly it. That is exactly who are we to decide how to, we don't have to worry about that. Get out of your own way, get out there and provide who and what you are in the world, because who you are in the world is desperately needed. Yeah. Someone needs your story, your gift, the way that you see the world, whatever that is. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's jewelry design or if it's home design or if it's life coaching. You're carrying around something beautiful within you, and many somethings, honestly, more than one thing that the world needs, right? And so I really feel like we want to kind of keep that in mind as we're doing this life journey we're going through. Agnes, what about any other final thoughts? We've talked about self-awareness, so our 3 tools: self-awareness, conscious choices, And intention and focus. One thing I want to say, Agnes, before I forget, because I thought this when I read this. The other thing is energy flows where your attention goes, or attention, right? So I want you to imagine that, right? What we're also getting at here is when we are, it's like lifeblood. So if I'm really focused in on what I'm doing for my purpose, all the things are flowing into that. So there's beautiful energy backing up where we're going. When that's not happening, I think sometimes that can kind of be a sign for us to slow down, take a look and see if we've like kind of got detoured along our way somewhere. But I do want to say that I want us to imagine that that focus is also funneling energy in to our life and our work. And so I think there's something so powerful about that focus idea as well, coming from that perspective. Any thoughts about that at all?
Well, I was going to say that the next step with this is inspired action, of course.
Yes.
Because without the action, nothing happens. And
Exactly.
so if you are intentional and focused, that translates into then you choosing again to do something. And that place of inspired action comes from you having that clear vision, knowing why you are doing what you are doing, and feeling whole and complete.
Exactly.
It helps you, I would say, navigate life with grace and ease, even through the difficulties. Because if you end up seeing every challenge as a learning opportunity rather than a failure, well, you are on that path, on that journey of growth.
Yes.
And yeah, for me, it is about more joy, more grace, more ease, flow.
Yes, flow.
But it doesn't happen if you don't take action. Well, one of the things I would add also, because we tend to, we've not learned to do that, is to trust your intuition.
Oh, yes.
It's funny because the Dutch in me is very much into systems, tools, organization, etc. So very left brain, if you could. I never take my decision from that place.
Right.
It's from here. It's my gut.
Exactly. No, I love that. I love that. And I think too, with time, we also learn that like the best things come from right here, you know, like they're kind of gut driven. I always, it's funny whenever I take those like psychological tests or measurements about your personality, it always comes from right here. That is exactly where I feel like the best solutions in our life come from. And what can happen is, you know, like we can get covered with our stuff. So it reminds me of a quick story by Tara Brach that's one of my favorites. In Trusting the Goals, she talks about this beautiful Buddha statue that they went to move. The monastery was moving or something, and they had to move this statue. So they take all this care, and they're all freaking out because it's this really beautiful, aged, but kind of ugly Buddha statue. And they go to move it, and it starts to rain. And
I know what you mean.
Stuff starts coming off this Buddha. Well, what they uncover is that it is a pure gold Buddha statue that had been covered, and I think they covered it during the war so that people wouldn't know it was something really expensive. So what happens is it's like very much like our journeys. As we go through time, we can kind of get covered up with old stories and belief systems and blocks and emotions and stories that really kind of cover us up and can kind of like dampen, but that gold is in there, right? So that gold is in there. So we just want to make sure that we're staying in touch with the awareness that you're carrying around this incredible amount of joy and beauty and vibrancy within you. And that in human experience, it can feel like it starts to get kind of covered by clay. It gets covered until we go in.
We're born as gold.
Exactly. Absolutely. We're born as gold. We leave as gold. This is just a fact, right? But I love what you said about inspired action. I think that a piece of this is sometimes those things covering us can get in the way. They can block us from taking inspired action and trusting. So I just want to throw that out there, that sometimes this is a lot of what I bump into is that with my clients, they know there's something good. They've got really beautiful skills, tools. They've done a lot of things. They've had great success, and yet something feels like kind of dampened. And so we have to go and get that clay removed so that they can really be fully in touch once again, so that they can move forward in inspired action, because that is right. But they have to trust. And if we've lost trust by all this garbage covering us, we've got to go in and clean it off, right? And so it just reminded me, that's one of my very favorite stories that she shared. And it's ancient. It's not probably her story, but I was so inspired by that. And I really love that idea that, like, yeah, you're made up of so much more than you know. And sometimes we just lose sight of it. It's still in there. It's still in there. So beautiful. So Anya, so I just want to circle back for anyone who's just joining us. 3 tools for reinvention: self-awareness, key, pivotal. I know that you and I talk about this all day, every day. Anya's for sure. Conscious choices, intention and focus. And then she said moving into inspired action. And then, of course, trusting your intuition. So that's kind of full circle. Are there any other final thoughts at all, Agnes, that you wanted to share while we're in here today? And then otherwise, I'm going to let people know how to find you out in the universe if they would like to connect with you. But are there any final thoughts or anything that you wanted to share?
The one that I like to add is, because we are so easily influenced by the people around us.
Oh, for sure.
Don't let anyone ever tell you your dream is impossible. As Audrey Hepburn said, the word says it all: I'm possible.
Yes, I love that so much. And thank you for saying that. I think that's so true, that a piece of that for me in my journey. So that was a beautiful mic drop. Let's just, okay. Because I want to honor that beauty nugget right there that you dropped for us. The other thing I would say is that, you know, I think it's important to think about the fact that we as human beings really need to have beautiful support in our lives.
Yeah.
So when we're in a space, like you said, if someone says that's not viable, that's not feasible, you can't do that. How many stories of famous celebrities and successful people started with stories where people told them you can't?
Yeah.
And so first of all, you got to have a little sassiness in you. I was born with a load of it. You can borrow some of mine if you need it. But also, I really do want you to think about the fact that you want to be surrounded with people who are yes people. Now, I don't mean yes to every single harebrained idea you may have in your life. What I do mean is there are people that see your potential.
Yeah.
That believe in where you want to go. Long before I got to where I am today, my husband looked at me one day and said, I was talking about maybe writing a book, and he said, you need to write a book. You have something important to say. So my husband has been one of my yes people my entire journey. Now, I'm really lucky, you know, because not everyone has a husband that will do that. But I want to emphasize, yes, I think all things are possible. I also believe that having people in your corner that love you, show up for you, and say yes, and hold you in alignment to that. Like, hey, yes, is that thing for you? When you're getting squirrely and you're kind of maybe getting off course, and someone says, hey lady, is that program something you need right now? And you go, well, no, I'm going to park it. And I go, yes, exactly. Back on track, right?
I would add, however, that if you cannot find it around you, because that can happen, find it elsewhere.
That's where I'm going.
Your base camp, your surrogate family.
Absolutely.
You can create it yourself. Yes. Find it elsewhere.
You need
yourself with like-minded people.
Absolutely. You need community. And so whether that's business, whether it's spiritual, whether it's both, I am in community at all times. Yeah, all times. I have been very intentional about who's in my wheelhouse every day, because do their belief systems line up with mine? Do their values and foundational way of showing up in the world, does it line up with mine? Because that's what I need in my life. So I have been really intentional about that. And that's what I would want you to hear. So thank you so much for saying it just that way, which is what I'm suggesting is you need community. You need to have coaches or support systems in place that are like cheering you on the whole way home and telling you that you are capable of doing this and to stay the course. So that's really pivotal in the care that oh, bless you.
Sorry.
No, you don't have to be sorry. Bless you. So I just wanted to say that that's really important as well. Okay. Yes, if people want to find you, my dear, where would they go? Where's the easiest spot to find you?
Well, the first place to find me is very likely my website, the reinventionmentor.biz.
Okay.
But on any social media, there is only one Agnes van Rhijn with a capital Y. and that is me. So I am either Agnes van Rijn or I'm Agnes, the Reinvention Mentor. So it's pretty simple to find me anywhere.
There you go. There you go. Agnes, I cannot thank you enough. This was, so, despite our technology, are covering our gold in technology of clay. This was a really, really powerful and beautiful conversation, just as I knew it would be. And I so appreciate your spirit and your willingness to come in here and spend time with me today and share your wisdom and grace with my audience. I'm so grateful for that. And I know they are. Everything they're saying has been so delightful that they're so impressed and inspired by what you shared today. So I just want to say thank you so much for that.
Thank you for having me. Thank you
my
so
God.
much. And we are a beautiful example that something doesn't have to be perfect in order to add value.
Case in point, everyone. Case in point. I just want to thank everyone so much for being here today. Agnes, for being a beautiful guest. As always, I am so deeply grateful for my friends that come in and share their inspiration and wisdom with my community. That's so important. And I just want to invite you, if this was something that was helpful, you want to know more about purposeful living, again, you can certainly look up on Yes, please do, or you can always go to my website as well, laughinglotuswellness.com. There's all kinds of tips and tools there for purposeful living. But for today, my friends, I just want to send you blessings, love, and light. This is Jen and on Yes, and we're so grateful that you got to come and spend time with us today. And thank you for being here. And until next time, I'm sending you blessings, love, and light, and supporting you on your rise and your path to purpose. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much.